Good evening, everyone, and welcome to the FearFans podcast. I'm your host, Don Elmy, and here with me is my co-host, Nick Moulet. And I've been going through a pretty tough time for this past few days. I tested positive for COVID, and so I've been just staying at home. Can't go out, can't go to work, can't go to the gym. It's been a rough time for me, but slowly but surely recovering, but I don't think I'm out of the woods yet until I stop showing symptoms and get then I'm gonna see if I test negative, and hopefully it'll be soon. But been living off of nothing but water and Gatorade for the past few days, and I've spent today playing a bit of Dead Space, because the new remake is coming out in January, and of course did some sketching.
Oh, nice. What's that sketch of, Don?
One of the necromorphs from the game.
Oh, nice.
Yep.
What's going on, Jeremy?
Yep. Always loved drawing sketching since I was a kid. Still got it.
Awesome.
So tonight we wanted to cover what I believe is like one of the best werewolf movies ever, and it is An American Werewolf in London. So Nick, when did you first see this film?
I remember seeing An American Werewolf in London. It's been a number of years. It's been a number of years since I've seen that movie. But I still recall the first time I saw it. I must have been about 12 or 13 years old. It was when and they still do it. I mean, I saw it on a special horror movie marathon on AMC. So yes, understandably, not only because of my age, but also because of the channel, they did cut out a lot of the good stuff. Although either way, I think it was part of their funny enough, I think it's called FearFest on AMC. Of course, they still do it today.
Yep.
But they don't really do it exactly the same way as they used to. I mean, they still show some of the classics, but as far as I know, they haven't really showed An American Werewolf in London for the longest time. But I was about 12 or 13 when I saw it.
Yeah, I was about 11 when I saw it, and funny you mentioned, I actually first saw it like on AMC as well. I believe it was during the every year the Halloween, like during October when they show like 2 or 3 weeks of nothing but horror films, and that's how I first experienced American Werewolf in London. And again, like you said, they heavily censored a whole lot of it, especially in terms of the gore, certain blood effects, and also obviously the theater scene. They heavily censored like the movie that was shown in that. Yeah, because that's definitely to this day, you still can't get away with that unless it's on like HBO or something.
Yep. Or if you just get the DVD itself.
Yep. That's exactly how I did it. Then I switched to Blu-ray.
Yep.
Yep.
Yeah, I mean, obviously watching for the first time was, that was back in the days long before Blu-ray, when everyone was still, depending on DVDs, of course, and of course Netflix.
Oh yeah. And and this was this film was released back in 1981.
81.
It was written and directed by John Landis, who before this made two other big hits as far as comedy with Animal House and Blues Brothers.
Yeah,
and the slogan for this film back in that time was, "From the director of Animal House comes a different kind of animal."
And he really had it right. I honestly, now that I think about it, this was probably, even though this movie was a comedy too, it was probably John Landis's first take on, a horror film of any kind. So looks like you got more of your YouTube supporters done.
Oh yeah. It's good to see you making podcasts again. Yeah, Santiago. Yeah, thank you for joining us. Like the thing is, I've been, like I said at the beginning, I've been sick with COVID for the past few days. Couldn't go out anywhere. I'm truly, just doing the best I can with it. Not completely out of the woods yet, but I didn't want to let anybody down by delaying the podcast for another week. So I feel like, I'm feeling slightly better, so the show must go on.
Right.
Yeah.
Pickle Tom, good to see you.
Oh, Tom, great to see you.
Oh, here's Robert White from Australia. Good to see you.
A different animal that does not play
the drums.
Yeah. I hope you feel better soon. Yeah, thanks, Brad. I'm Still, yeah, well on my way there, but not completely out of the woods yet. But yeah, I'm a fighter. I'm gonna beat this.
Looks like Jeremy's in the same boat as me. He hasn't seen it in a long time either.
Oh yeah, yeah.
Oh, hey, Tom. Good to see you. Our Tom McNicholas.
Sorry you were sick. Thank you, Tom. Yeah, I know. It's this caught me off guard as well. You know, like I thought it was just allergies again because it would have been like the fourth time it's happened with the weather fluctuations. You know, it's been ridiculous.
Pickle Don. Hey, that's. I didn't know he was going to start calling that. I did not have any intention with that. For a while, it was just me and Pickle Tom. What's going on, Scott?
Hello, Scott. Thank you for joining us. And so, what? Sorry to hear about that. My mother got a cold. Oh, yeah. So, yeah, be praying for her as well, for her recovery.
You are now officially inducted into the Pickle Club. Well, I mean, we both like Rick and Morty, so.
Oh yeah, hey, Pickle Rick. Hey, Pickle Rick is my all-time favorite episode of Rick and Morty. It like seemed absurd at first, but when you watch it, it's like, wow.
That's why he's saying that you're inducted to the Pickle Club now.
Now I want. Thinking about that show also makes me want the Szechuan sauce. Anyway, this film had a lot going for it. It's one of the most successful horror comedies. It's like I said, it was directed by a man who really knows how to create comedy, and I should say, like, this film also completed a made a monumental achievement in the history of Oscars because right in 1981 is when they introduced the category for best makeup effects, and it went to this film. So American Werewolf in London is the first film in cinema history to ever win an Oscar for best makeup effects.
Oh, definitely. And it was all done by the great Rick Baker. You know, he really did a great job with the effects for that movie.
Oh yeah, like especially with that transformation scene, the most iconic scene of the entire film. All of it practical effects, no CGI, no visual effects. All of it was just the old school way, and it still looks better than the majority of the effects they use for transformation scenes today.
Yeah, I mean, it's just, I think what's even more fascinating, by the way, and I don't think a lot of people seem to know this, but so you think of the movie American Werewolf in London, how it was released in 1981. I got to ask you, though, what other, and I not only ask you, but also for those who are watching, that same year, another werewolf movie came out. So what other werewolf movie came out in 1981?
The Howling.
You got it. So the reason why I asked that.
Another favorite of mine.
Yeah, which of course, unlike an American Werewolf in London, that has a much more serious plot to it. But the two films actually have a connection with each other. Not only because they're both werewolf movies, but it turns out that Rick Baker was originally supposed to do the werewolf effects for The Howling, but he didn't have time to do that project because he was already focused on working on an American Werewolf in London. Had he had time to do both, I think it would have been quite amazing to see the works of him by both movies. But especially back then, you can only do so much involving film projects. So you were unfortunately, he was unable to do The Howling, but was able to do an American Werewolf in London.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah.
Oh my God. They're still talking about the pickle clubs. They're still talking about Pickle Club, damn it.
Oh man.
Of an American Werewolf in London, one of my favorites. Well, one of his many horror favorites. You okay?
Yeah. Yep.
Got the effects video in his feed the other day. Awesome. Let's see what else. That movie was probably one of those that paved the way for special makeup effects.
Oh yeah, that it did. Yeah, after this came.
Oh, he's talking about when I asked about what other movie came out.
Sorry, Tom.
The scene I remember.
I got to get something real quick. I'll be right back.
Okay. Yeah, I'm keeping up with the comments. I'm just trying to keep up anyway with them. Okay, see. So now the scene from Jeremy, the scene I remember most from the movie is where the werewolf is walking down the streets of London, causing everyone to go into a panic.
Oh yes, that's the Piccadilly Circus scene near the end.
You know what? There's something else I remember from that scene again. I don't think most people know this, but did you know like the part where when that occurs, it's either I think it's a trolley or something, and someone falls out, as the werewolf is like wreaking
Yep.
havoc.
Yep,
The
that happened.
person that's fallen out, you first think that's a stuntman, right? Well, it
Right.
turns out that's actually director John Landis making a cameo appearance,
Yes, he
like
did.
falling out of the window.
Yeah, it wasn't actually a trolley. He was actually hit. There was a car that was swerving out of the way of the
It was a
werewolf,
double decker
and
bus.
he was hit by that car and thrown into the window of a store. But yeah, you were right. He does make a cameo in that scene.
Yeah,
Um,
that's
oh, hey Billy, how's it
it
going? Thank you
seems
for
like
joining
John
us.
Landis was kind of like being a stuntman for that scene.
Yeah,
That
that's,
was either
yo,
way, I didn't know that was him.
Don, my friend, what's up? And not much, just still trying to go strong, despite having COVID. Just but hey, I'll beat it. Yeah, but let's see. Billy Mount says the movie's transformation scene is the best scene in terms of special effect. Yep, absolutely right. Because I was just telling Nick that Rick Baker's work in this is what really made the film what it is. Yeah, like that scene alone, no CGI, no visual effects, all of it is practical, and made it look more realistic than most werewolf transformation movies that we have today.
Yeah, I mean I think it should be agreed, obviously, that the last true good like special effects involving transformation. I mean, when they made an American Werewolf in London, I don't think honestly, I don't think we really at that time. I don't think we really had seen anything like that since probably the original Wolfman movie from the 1940s. And yes, obviously that was more of like just like transitions from frame by frame. But this, and so yeah, we've seen it before, but this was like really one of the first to like show like an actual real good transformation sequence without having those, you know, fade in on those transition effects, just going instead of going frame by frame, you're actually just filming it right as it's happening.
Yeah, that's true, and I like how this also introduced the whole concept of how transformation like causes intense pain. Like as the body just sizes into a wolf, kind of like the wolf's physical form. Like when like changing the bones, changing like the muscle structure and everything, just
Right. Yeah.
transforming into this beast. And the way they did all that with practical effects is just absolutely stunning.
It's stunning, it's funny, and like you said, it even sounds kind of painful. Like you could tell it like as the for the character that it looks like he's really in a lot of pain as this is happening to him.
Yeah, David Naughton definitely pulled that off.
Hey, what's up, Nikki?
Oh,
Jeez, Don, we got quite a couple of people from Australia watching.
ah, oh, Nikki. Yeah, never been to
Hello from
Australia, but I hear it's nice.
hello down under.
Yeah, we're just looking at my all-time favorite werewolf film, and so
Producer Felix, has it occurred to you that it might be unsettling to see you arise from the grave to visit me?
David, you're in my feelings.
Yeah, they're
Yep.
David and Todd. They're
Yes,
marking lines.
and this is another example of how Rick Baker's makeup effects really made this film the great werewolf film it is. Oh, hang on.
I just realized too. I shouldn't even I should have realized this last year. That last year was also the 40th anniversary of that movie. So, let's see. Got to watch out for the kangaroos.
and also the funnel web spiders and the box jellyfish. All kinds of dangerous animals there.
Yep. and Robert also points out, and the drop bears. And don't forget too, like anything else, everything is big down in Australia.
So, that it is.
Shark, spider, cat, now wolf. I think it's referring to like, I don't know if he's referring to something from Australia or if he's referring to like different movies.
Yep. Oh, she responding to my comment or yours?
It could be anything.
Either one.
Either one.
But yeah, yeah. But as I was saying, Nick, yeah, well, the transform the Rick Baker like did amazing effects, not just for the transformation scene, but also the scenes that where uh David's friend Jack was coming back as like an undead kind of a ghost to warn David that he's a werewolf, and it just showed like what Jack looked like after being attacked by the werewolf. The claw, the flesh ripped off of him.
Yeah.
He actually looked like he had just came back from a vicious attack. And now you got to be okay. Yeah, and it's just a few cough attacks. They come and go. Yeah, it's part of the whole. It's one of my symptoms. Don't worry, I got drink I got Gatorade with me, so I'll be okay.
Jeremy, actually, okay, I understand what Jeremy was talking about. He said, there's a trend in the show. It is spider, Jaws is shark, Pet Cemetery is cat. Now we got the wolf. I've just realized, oh my God, I know what he's talking about. and I love Robert's response. He's saying, next might be Hitchcock's The Birds. we're going to do a lot of animals here.
I was thinking of that, but not at this time though. I was thinking of saving that for around Thanksgiving because turkeys. I will say this: I would want to do if I'm making a podcast episode like focusing around Thanksgiving time. I would rather focus on the birds over. You know what I'm going with this, right, Nick?
Yeah,
Thanksgiving. No way.
Lions and tigers and bears. So
that movie was so ridiculous.
Nick can transfer himself into a werewolf just by flipping his hair over his face.
Oh man.
That's funny.
Yeah. But those that where they had Jack coming back as like this ghost, having all the showing the flesh ripped off, and to himself becoming more and more decayed each time he goes to visit David. Like the effects that went into that were just amazing. It just shows what kind of a genius, the kind of wizard that Rick Baker is when it comes to his field line of work.
Nick got himself a haircut. Can't do that no more. It is true. I don't know if you noticed. I finally got a haircut.
Oh, you did?
Yeah.
Nice. Yeah, I did too.
Nice. Well, that looks like we're going to have something in common to be back on the show with. But yeah, I mean, it's just like, you always wonder for yourself, like, how does somebody basically, especially for like a special effects, someone who specializes in special effects does such good effects with like you said, not only the transformation, but like the claw, like the scratching, the basically physical damage to a person. You always wonder for the longest time how they're able to do something like that, especially back in the late 70s, in the 70s and 80s when that was still relatively brand new at the time.
Yeah, exactly.
You always wonder exactly for the longest time.
Yeah, and
man, stole my balloons. They're making all these remarks from that movie already.
Oh yeah,
it's already a full moon.
Yeah, I think there might be tonight. So yeah, good thing I got my doors and windows locked.
Oh, sweet. Tom said
hopefully that's enough.
Sweet. Tom said he got our room booked for SilCon, which in case anybody wants to know really quickly, SilCon, it's another Paracon that's happening out in Mattoon, Illinois, practically central Illinois. That's only about 3.5 hours away from us. It's going to be September 9th to 10th. However, Tom and I are only going to be able to come out for one day, which is going to be on Saturday, September 10th. So for anyone that lives nearby, if you guys are looking for another Paracon to go to, SilCon is a lot of fun. It's free admission, and haven't really figured out who the full guest list is going to be, but I know, of course, we're going to have a couple awesome guests with us, so that'll be a lot of fun. The 80s had the best horror movies, even the B movies. Yeah, yes.
Yeah, they did have quite a few B movies, yeah.
The undead surround me. Have you ever talked to a corpse? It's boring.
Yeah. I mean, This just I just love how they just introduce like Jack as the undead as an undead ghost when David is still in the hospital. Like when they just got through with having those very shocking nightmare sequences that he goes through, and then like everything seems to call it like everything's okay. Like we have a scene where like nothing's gonna happen, but then he's about to have breakfast, but then he looks up. And it shows what David's looking at. It's his friend, completely mutilated, just saying, "Can I have a piece of toast?"
Yeah.
Like, oh my god.
It's like 90% of his body basically is like just completely torn up, and he's just standing there like nothing's wrong. And
Yeah,
it just and each time you see him, it's just he's just decaying more. He's just looking more like he just gets worse and worse by appearance.
yeah. The
And
very next day,
it's so graphic, but at the same time though, it's just so funny to watch.
it is. It's like funny yet unsettling at the same time.
Another animal horror movie, The Rats.
The Rats. I
You
might have
ever
seen that.
I
I
don't think
might
I've
have,
ever seen that movie, The Rats.
but I might have seen it on TV once, but it was a long time ago.
I just got, you know what? I actually just want to point this out. A title like this, the movie The Rats. I was not thinking of the animal rats. That sounds more like a prison gang, like people ratting on inmates. That sounds more like a prison movie.
Well, well, the Rats. If that really is an actual gang, I'm pretty sure it wouldn't last very long because
Well, no, no, it would be a group of guys acting out as rats, telling on gang members and inmates.
Oh wait,
Oh, it's okay. He just sent the link.
he's sending
It's
a
from
link
it's from
from 2002. I think
2002.
I've seen that. Yeah, I think I know what you're talking about. I think I did see that, but yeah, it was like I said, it was back when I was like probably 10 or something. Oh yeah,
It was a
2002.
TV
So I was
movie.
10.
That's what it was.
It must have premiered on TV, and I saw it. Yeah,
Yeah, I don't think I've seen that one before yet.
yeah,
At least not yet.
I know what you're talking about now, Jeremy. I thought it was just an okay film when I saw it. So let's see
Probably just simply
and
like simple effects. The Rats are the unknown gang at West Side Story. Thought it was
yeah.
pretty good. Robert said to me, it sounds like a rodent under a chef's hat spreading the plague. Me with my promise, so many jokes. Yeah, I know what he's talking.
So
You know what he's talking about, right?
yeah, I do. And yeah, so like I enjoyed like the beginning of the film. Like there's like a steady build up to like the attack. Like it shows like the two guys, David played by David Norrington. Yeah, like David being played by an actor named David.
Yeah,
So,
I know, it's funny.
Yep. And Jack played by let's see, I think his name was Griffin Dune. I think that's what his name was.
I think so. Again, it's been a while since I've learned of the actors' names.
Yeah. So they are traveling through like the rural England, like, and then come across a town called East Proctor where they go to a pub called the Slaughtered Lamb. Yeah, because that doesn't sound like an unsettling or disturbing name at all.
Sounds completely normal.
Yeah, and hey, at least they have plenty of beer, darts, and chess. So sounds like a party.
When you're a rat all the way.
Yeah.
Didn't they do a remake?
They actually are planning on doing a remake. It's in the development. John Landis is a producer in that, and his son Max Landis is the writer and director of it. And from what I've heard, they're actually planning on changing a little bit of it, where instead of it's two college best friends, it's actually a couple, a guy and a girl, where they're attacked by a werewolf. The girl survives, and I guess she becomes the werewolf. So I don't know too much about it. It's like I know how some people could feel about when it comes to remakes, especially when you're remaking a classic like this. But I'm thinking it's either going to range from just decent to really bad. But because I've been disappointed by remakes before, so I know how some of you feel.
Right, the Moors. Jeez, all I could think of. I'm not sure what Robert means by that. All I could think about is just in a comedy sense.
The Moors.
All I can really just think right now is actually the Seinfeld episode where they're playing that guessing game and it involves the Moors. George Costanza kept calling it the Moops.
Yeah. Well, it's actually he's actually referring to the moors, like this field of like I think it's like I don't know what you mean. Like the moors, I think is like this these plain like fields where it's like they have these shrubs like moors. I'm getting like like that's what that means. Like they're supposed to stay on the road and keep clear of the of the moors, beware the moon. The warnings that the guys over at the slaughtered lamb give them when they continue their travels, and then they wander off in the rain into the moors, hear howling, then some really good suspense builds up before Jack is attacked and killed by the werewolf, and then David is attacked, but then somehow like everybody from that bar, from that pub, is able to find them and kill the werewolf before it could kill David.
Right.
Yeah.
Tom's
Why do
like,
they keep
why do
doing
they
that?
keep remake every? Yes, I know. We
I know.
know.
Hey, I know. Hey, Tom, I know how you and some people feel about remakes. Like I said, I've been disappointed by remakes before. Like some of the worst horror remakes I've ever seen was the remake for The Fog and the remake for Psycho,
Yeah, right.
especially the remake for Psycho, because the only two major changes in Psycho is a whole new cast and it's in color, and that's it.
No,
That's it. That's all they did.
rat side story.
Yeah. Jesus.
So, Robert's talking about the remake, saying she sounds like a
Oh,
total bitch. Oh
man.
boy, don't just looked it up. Do not ever look for the. Oh, that's what they're
Yes.
talking about. They're talking about that movie. You know what? You know what movie they're referring to? Why they're telling me not to look up The Nest, right? Because
What?
that's probably a movie involving probably killer cockroaches. So that's why he's saying do not ever look for The Nest.
Hmm.
The
There have
moops.
there are a few horror films that are focusing on cockroaches.
Yeah, well, one of them we already do know is Creep Show. They're creeping up on you.
Yep,
So,
that
but
was a good one.
but I love that Tom Alley brought up the moops. It's moops.
The
The
remake of
remake of
Nightmare on Elm Street.
Nightmare on Elm Street,
Yeah,
horrible.
that one
Yes.
wasn't as good, that great. That one wasn't.
No,
I
it
wasn't
wasn't.
too big of a fan of that one.
I didn't
Yeah,
like it.
nor of the remake of Friday the 13th. Yeah, I wasn't really. I was kind of disappointed with that one too.
What about American Werewolf in Paris?
Oh yeah,
Okay.
I was going to mention that. That is a sequel to this, released in 1997, and it focuses on three American boys who are traveling to Paris. Start off by their goal of bungee jumping off of the Eiffel Tower. Yeah, pretty sure that's not legal at all.
Yeah,
And
I think I was going to say not only in Paris, I think that's just about illegal everywhere.
Oh yeah, so like the only connection this has with the original film, it's heavily implied that the main girl in this, who they meet, Surfine, is the daughter of David and the nurse Alex in the first film,
It's
and
like the
so she,
only connect. It's like the only
yeah, so
connection for that film.
yeah, so she's born with the werewolf curse, and so like then they get mixed up with this gang of werewolves that she's associated with, who set up these underground parties and for Americans. It's a big ruse, so they could use that to trap them and kill them.
Yeah,
And
it just seems
let's
like
see, and
that just
it didn't,
go
and it
ahead, go
wasn't
ahead.
like yeah, it wasn't as successful as the first film, obviously, in terms of yeah, quality, but also financially, because it only made little more than its budget back. And also, if you all love the practical effect, the great practical effects from Rick Baker, you will be missing that dearly, because just about 90% of the werewolf effects in American Werewolf in Paris is just some terrible CGI.
Yeah, I didn't like that movie, to be
And it
honest.
looked absolutely nothing like the werewolves in the first film.
No,
Nothing.
they didn't. They honestly, to me, this is just my opinion. Even though they were supposed to be werewolves, they actually looked more ape-like more than
Yeah.
wolf-like. I mean, they should have just called it something else completely. So yeah, I didn't like that movie, not to mention the transformation that was, honestly, after the first time I watched, I'm thinking, what the hell did I just watch? It was nothing good compared to the original film.
Oh yeah.
Um,
And also, I'm pulling it up. You can actually watch American Werewolf in Paris for free on YouTube. There's like this I
yeah,
was researching today. There's this channel called Film Rise Movies, where they show like free movies, and like 1 minute and like they're showing the opening title sequence, right? And
yep.
I just came across the title for it on here in the title sequence. What's missing right here?
There's nothing in the back.
No. I mean, what is missing in terms of the
Oh, I
title?
see it. Okay, I see it now. It
What's
doesn't even
missing?
have the N.
Yeah, the "and" is missing.
Yeah, it's not even there.
Yeah. So yeah,
Suck.
and the runtime at this point is we're 1 minute in. Yeah, 1 minute in, and they're already screwing up.
Yep.
Ugh.
That just goes to show how bad it is. Uh
Yeah.
they had no originality. Your favorite critter ever. Willard's
Uh,
babies. What
Willard.
the hell is he
Oh,
talking?
Willard. Oh, there's a movie called Willard that focuses on a man who has the ability to control rats.
Oh, okay.
And they also
Uh,
remade it. It had Crispin Glover in the remake.
Robert England is Freddy, no one else ever. Yes, that is
Yes.
so true. I'm just
Yes.
trying to catch up with all the comments. Here's another horror movie to watch, Kazam. I feel like I've heard of that one before.
Ah, with Shaquille O'Neal. Oh, Jesus.
Oh God, is it bad?
Oh, yeah, it's pretty bad.
Okay, well, good thing I haven't seen it then.
Yeah, Jeremy, I'm gonna pretend you did not mention that film.
Yeah. Yeah, no one could ever replace Robert.
Nope.
American Werewolf in Paris doesn't
American
have the same ring to it. Yeah.
American Ape in Paris.
Oh, American Ape in Paris. I didn't even see that at first. Top Gun Maverick was basically Top Gun with the same plot, not a news story.
Yeah, pretty much.
Oh, sorry. The thin budget Evil Dead and the effects they used made it the best. You know, I have to bring that movie up, but back in the day, the lower the budget, the better effects were because they had to try harder and make the movie.
Yeah, that is one way to look at it. Yeah, like Evil Dead is one of my favorites as well.
Yeah, I remember Willard. Crispin Clover was creepy
Crispin
in that.
Glover. Crispin
Glover.
Glover.
Have you seen the Shack acts?
Have you ever seen Shaq act? Yeah, like that, and also Steel. He was horrible in both.
American Base Jump for Werewolf in Paris.
Not to mention that Steel also played a role in like the decline of superhero films back in the 90s. That along with that god awful Batman and Robin. But thankfully, we had this to save it, Blade. So yeah, it wasn't
true.
It wasn't X-Men or Spider-Man that saved the superhero franchise. It was this film. This showed us that superhero films have potential. So you have horror to thank for bringing superhero movies back. Without this, no Spider-Man trilogy, no MCU, no Dark Knight trilogy, nothing. If not for this film.
Army of Darkness. That's one of my all-time favorite movies.
Oh yeah, best horror comedy. Yes,
that's one of my all-time favorites, alongside An American Werewolf in London.
Yeah, one of the best horror comedies ever. Yeah, one day we're gonna have to cover the Evil Dead franchise on this.
Oh, definitely. You know, Tom Nally will have to be part of that because he loves Evil Dead.
Yeah, Tom. When we go over Evil Dead, we're gonna bring you on this. Yeah. So, wanted to get back to this. Yeah, like when David like wakes up at the hospital, you could just there are like some scenes like the nightmare sequences that he has, which clearly demonstrate like his decline in mental stability. You know, his descent into like madness after being a survivor of a vicious attack.
Right.
Yeah, especially like probably the most bizarre yet brutal scene of the entire film was the dream sequence where it seems like David is like having like a flashback of just simpler times before he went off to London, where he's back at home with his family. There's like he has parents and his two younger siblings. They have like some Jewish decor here and there, which tells you about his religious background. But then there's a knock on the door. His dad answers, and it's a bunch of mutant, not guys in like Nazi outfits who end up shooting the place, setting it on fire. Just completely brutal.
It's insane. It's just like it kind of doesn't make a lot of sense, but at the same time, though, it's like a really crazy scene. And I like how they displayed him in different type of monsters. Because like the first one, was kind of like a bald guy and had like this kind of like this look on his face, and then the second one almost looked more like it was like almost like a melted like version of a werewolf. And then the third one basically was just a werewolf itself. It was almost like as if they were werewolf type creatures, like depicting like different stages.
Yeah,
I think there might have been a fourth one too, but they were all like different stages of like either decaying or transformation. But that was kind of smart that they were all the same creatures, but they all had different appearances.
Yeah, Rick Baker played one of those mutant Nazis.
Yep.
Yeah, it was him. And I guess like everybody seems to has a very hard time with understanding the whole purpose of that dream sequence. I think it's like their way of showing that David's like starting to lose grip on his sanity, like his like mental, basically his mental status just starting to break down more and more. So
Right. And
yeah.
Jeremy, I was just about to share this. I was going to let you know, Don, that Greg has canceled the show for tonight, so we can go on for however long we'd like.
Okay,
So
cool.
now we don't have any, the time's no longer limited. So I was just about to tell him, Jeremy, you beat me to it. Tom here says he got to interview two of the original three women from the first movie, as he mentioned before.
Oh, wow.
Check that out.
Wow, nice. 2 of the 3 women. Yeah, there were a few women in that film, including in the first movie, like there was Jenny Agutter, I believe her name is.
Yeah.
Yeah, like she, and if that name sounds familiar to some of you fans of Child's Play movies, she actually did play Joanne, Andy's foster mom in Child's Play 2.
Right.
Which was about, I think it was 9 years after this film.
Yeah, that was 1989. So,
you meant? Oh wait, here she meant the Evil Dead.
The Evil Dead
yeah.
movie.
Like,
okay,
because I was about to say, as far as I was concerned, there was just one main
I was going to say
girl.
there
Yeah.
really wasn't many women.
There were just a few.
There was a few, but like as far as main characters go, it was just the one you mentioned. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
The one in the gas mask said to me that the werewolf virus may have been airborne at one stage. I don't know if he's still referring to the Nazi mutants sequence.
Yeah. And like the whole Nazi mutant sequence, I think they figured Nazi because it was briefly mentioned in the film that David was Jewish, and so it's like he survived a attack by a monster, so now he's having a nightmare sequence where his family is attacked by the monsters from a dark chapter in the Jewish history. The real
it's
monsters, which were Nazis.
Yeah, I mean, and you know what? It actually kind of makes you think too. I mean, even though they're monsters in the film, that still actually sends out that message that the scariest, the most horrific creature out there is the humans, and especially when they go after and attack and kill other people for various reasons. So that's almost sends that message that the monsters are really the people that have done horrible things.
Oh yes, yeah, that's exactly what we live in fear of each and every day.
Betsy Baker and Teresa Tilly. That's who he interviewed.
Yeah, from Evil Dead.
Evil Dead, yeah.
Yeah, but seriously, Tom Nelly, we're definitely gonna have to have you on for when we go over the Evil Dead films, because been a fan of that since I was little. But we'll get into that when that time comes.
Yeah.
But so what else was I gonna say? Oh yeah, American Werewolf in London. Oh man, I had such a great time first seeing it when I was 11. Yeah, like it has just about everything you could want in a werewolf film. Great characters, some terrifying, suspenseful moments, great practical effects, and a great looking werewolf too. Because when they showed like the werewolf moving around and attacking people, mostly it was like done from an animatronic. Yeah, like they actually had to like push like a dolly or something. It's like,
see, I was totally fanboying when talking to them and told Betsy Baker that she made the cutest deadite in the entire franchise. That's awesome.
Nice. Oh yeah. What?
Sorry, my mom just got back home. I forgot. I was in such a rush. I forgot to close the basement door.
Okay.
So you're good.
Yeah. So what else was I gonna say?
Well, I want to point out something else for you that most people don't seem to know about with An American Werewolf in London. But everybody knows all too well. Again, the fact that it was released in 1981. A huge year when horror films. I think the year 1981 alone probably had more horror films, and I'm not just talking about slasher films. I'm basically talking about more horror films of any kind that came out than any other year. But here's the thing that most people really don't know about, and director John Landis has only mentioned it a few times in interviews. even though it was filmed in 80, it was made in 80. The film is now over 40 years old. Believe it or not, the film is actually, well, not really the film, but the script is actually older than the movie is. It's, put it this way, the script itself is actually 50 years old, because when John Landis was getting started involved, getting started to get involved in the film industry, which I think his first movie he ever did, he was only like 21 years old at the time in the early 70s.
Yeah,
And
that adds up.
yeah, long before not only that movie, but long before he did Blues Brothers, long before he did Animal House. He was doing some other movie. I can't remember what it was called though. And the he actually wrote the script in the early 70s. And at that time, however, though, he wasn't fully sure how they were going to be able to make this film, at that time, especially once again when it came to involve special effects. Fortunately, he already knew and was friends with Rick Baker at the time. So this is actually another reason why he wasn't able to do the effects on The Howling. As John Landis had put it in an interview, was that he actually wrote the script and gave Rick Baker the script back in 1971. So he had a lot of time to figure out, they had a lot of time to figure out how they were going to shoot this movie, especially involving the effects, because obviously, as we all know, they didn't start shooting until 10 years later in 1981.
Oh yeah. Yeah, I mean, Rick Baker, he's not only contributed a lot to American Werewolf in London, but also to other films throughout, as far as Hollywood. I mean, he's done the effects for the Men in Black franchise. He's did the effects for the Grinch, which which I think that either I believe it got nominated. I'm not sure if I think it may have won. On that Oscar too for best makeup effects for that. Like when you look at the Who's and you look at Jim Carrey, who had to like spend hours in a chair getting that makeup done. Oh, and also he won an Oscar for doing another werewolf film, and that was for the Wolfman remake in 2010.
That's right. And also, I want to point out, don't forget, he also did I hope Brad's watching this because I know he always still jokes with me on this. He also did the special effects for The Ring, the American version, that is.
Yep, that he did. So he's got a lot of great titles under his belt when it comes to the practical effects, when it comes to makeup effects.
I mean, he's been doing it over the last 50 years. So he's been, I haven't, of course, understand why he's gotten a lot older now. So understandably, he probably doesn't do it as much as he used to, but he still pops in every once in a while.
Oh, yeah.
It's something they could do. An American Park Corgi at Crufts dog show in London. And one other film I just thought of, and this was something Jeremy had mentioned actually earlier.
Yeah.
Just you can kind of say he kind of did not necessarily werewolf effects, but also more of zombie effects. Just 2 years after An American Werewolf in London, he also did the zombie effects and the werecat effect, if you will, for Michael Jackson's Thriller music video.
Same guy. Yep.
He plays one of the zombies.
Yes, and John Landis directed that as well. Oh, also and also the werewolf scene with Michael Jackson, when he transforms and all that. He actually makes the same sounds as the werewolf in American Werewolf in London.
Yeah, right. That's what I didn't realize that until years later. I'm like, wait a second, these are the same effects, because obviously I saw Thriller first when I was younger, and then when I saw An American Werewolf in London, I didn't even think about it at the time because it had been so many years. Because again, this was at a time before we could really watch like a lot of videos, obviously on YouTube. So that was still relatively new. And then when I came back and watched it again, thinking, yeah, it's the same stuff. But I've always referred to like the Michael Jackson transformation more like I thought it looked more like a cat than a werewolf. It looked more like a werecat in my opinion.
Yeah. I mean, so when Michael Jackson, that's like Thriller's like my favorite Michael Jackson song, my favorite music video. So, and in order to pull off something horror themed, and Michael Jackson definitely, he made the right call bringing in, some serious experts as far as horror, with some of the people who pulled off American Werewolf in London.
It's funny how you think also a thriller, even though that more focuses on excuse me, on zombies, of course.
Mm-hmm.
You would have expected that would have been something that would have actually been more looked like it would have more been likely to be directed by George A. Romero, because we all know him for basically being the godfather of zombies. But
Yeah.
and then I mean, I don't think he was ever involved. I don't think they ever offered it to him. But either way, the fact, even though it wasn't directed by George A. Romero, but directed by John Landis, who was a friend of Romero's, it's
Right.
still classic the way how they put that whole thing together.
Oh yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
And
I believe Jim Henson did the puppet work on American Werewolf in London.
yes,
Is that true?
he's referring to the nightmare sequence when David was with his family. His two younger siblings were watching the Muppets, and I believe Jim Henson was involved in that, and so was Frank Oz, who did all kinds of voices for characters on Sesame Street and Muppets, and he wasn't just involved because of just that alone. There was one scene where the first scene where David is awakened in the hospital and is introduced to Dr. Hirsch, his the man who's in charge of the hospital, and he's also introduced with a man from the embassy, Mr. Collins, I believe his name was. He was played by Frank Oz.
Oh, really?
Yep,
See,
that
I
was
don't know
him.
how excuse me. I don't know how I missed that. I really don't. So that's kind of a surprise for me.
Oh yeah, Frank Oz, he does a lot more than Muppets, and he's more involved in with horror than some people realize. I mean, he directed, I believe he was the director of the one of my favorite horror musical, Little Shop of Horrors.
Frank Oz, you seek Frank Oz.
Yep, we seek the great and powerful Frank Oz.
It really does. It really does make a lot of sense, though, like how they were basically involved with it. Because, you see anything from that era, like, the kids watching Muppets, you would have to think, okay, there's some involvement with Jim Henson and Frank Oz here, and, with that. So I didn't think about that at the time, though. And that had to been, as far as I know, if you think about it, and correct me if I'm wrong, might have been one of their few movies that they did that was, involving an R-rated movie, because usually they were more involved for the, family audience.
Yep. They were for the most part, but then Jim Henson's son, Brian Henson, in recent years released The Happy Time Murders, which was focusing on, which had Muppets in it, but it was not for kids at all.
Nope, it's not. It's not.
I did a reaction video around the time when that film was announced to the trailer for it, and I was just shocked beyond words that I was like, this is what Brian Henson has done to his father's legacy.
Good job.
Oh, man. Just had to create a murder mystery for adults involving Muppets.
Jesus, it's just crazy how some people, like how the sons of like some of these well-known people in the film industry, have to like destroy that by doing something, just basically making something completely messed up.
Well, it's not always the case. I mean, Ghostbusters Afterlife, right? I mean,
that's different.
I mean, his son, the original director, his son pulled off Ghostbusters Afterlife, and it turned out great. So,
yeah.
So that's not always the case. The children don't always. They don't always destroy their predecessors, their parents' work.
Right.
So, yeah. Let's see. And of course, American Werewolf in Paris, I did experience also on AMC. They showed both those films. So I think it was like a double feature. They showed that back to back. Yeah.
I'm just gonna say,
hey,
I'm just gonna say, I'm sorry.
It's like, hey, you love the first film. Check out this terrible sequel that did poorly in the box office, did not impress anyone who loved the first film, has terrible CGI in place of the monumental practical effects that the original is known for.
Yeah, it's just nuts. That's why I never pay attention to that one.
Yeah, and also I'll never forget the ridiculous ending it had. It's like a forced happy ending where the three of the main characters survive, including the couple. They ended up getting back to America and marrying in the end, and they celebrate their marriage by bungee jumping off of the Statue of Liberty.
Yeah, that seems a little bit insane. Although it should be noted though, on a more serious
Oh,
note,
man.
if you watch real carefully, like as it's panning out, it was as bad as the movie is. It probably was one of the last movies to show, because again, as it pans out to the end, just out in the distance, of course, you see Twin Towers of World Trade Center. So it was probably one of the last movies. This was probably one of the last movies to have the World Trade Center briefly featured in the background. Obviously a few years before the 9/11 attacks. So that was, of course, back then, no one thought something like that would ever happen. But that was probably the only part that like actually thought, oh, you're like, oh yeah, look, Twin Towers are still there.
Yeah.
So
Well, there was one. I remember back in 2001 when they were doing I think it was the first teaser trailer for Spider-Man, which was released in 2002, but Sam Raimi directed.
right.
It showed like the two towers in that. Like they had that commercial screen for a little while, but then after 9/11 happened, they pulled that one.
Right, yeah.
Yeah.
Well, this was
So
basically like, in other words, one of the last pre 9/11 films that occurred. Because again, even though it's very brief, you see it out in the distance.
yeah.
Excuse me, I don't know where this is coming from. I'm feeling fine. So
Wait,
just
are you
this
getting?
week.
Are you getting from me? Am I somehow transmitting
No,
it from here to you?
no, it's not that. It was just my throat clogging up. I'm fine though.
Yeah.
Oh yes, and Tom brings up another example. The Twin Towers were also in the beginning of The Sopranos and for most of the show's life. That's right.
Yep. Nick has cyber.
Nick
Oh
has
God,
cyber COVID. Oh God.
Nick, I am so sorry.
Upload your best antivirus program so that way, because
Let's
this must
see.
be a computer virus. At least you can get that solved with antivirus.
The antivirus. Pretty sure that's just in that terrible Resident Evil movies. I feel iffy about covering those in this, but I definitely want to cover the games at some point.
Yeah. The games
Definitely.
you have to.
Oh yeah. And
McAfee COVID.
oh Jesus.
He's talking about the antivirus of McAfee.
Yeah, I remember. Yeah, I used to have that back on an old PC that we did back in the day. What was I going to say before? Yeah, and I do like it's like I feel like the romance like in this feels like a little forced and iffy, but it's like it was meant to like be like a comical spur of the moment kind of a thing, and like when David was let off out of the hospital and has nowhere to go in London, so he stays with Alex and they have a relationship. But I still buy that over the relationship in the second film. Yeah, that one was just ridiculous.
yeah,
That one was
without a
just
shadow
ridiculous.
of a doubt.
Yeah, I mean, and yeah, Jenny Agutter did a great job like with her role as Alex. She played a great female lead in that. There's no doubt.
Mal COVID bites. Oh my God.
Jesus. Hey, come on, have some sensitivity here. There's a man with COVID present.
Tommy always jokes around all the time. Hey, you know what? Let's just be honest. Tom's just probably drunk. I don't say Pickle Tom is probably just drunk on the other end of the line, because you know how he sometimes gets drunk. and here he even says, "You still love me." You've been drinking, Tom. You've been drinking tonight, sir.
Oh, pickle time, not the real Tom. Pickle time.
Yeah. All right. Well, I don't know what Tom's saying, but all right, Tom. I'm gonna need you to step off the chat. Oh wait, I'm not drunk. I am drinking, but not drunk. All right, Tom, I'm going to need you to step off the chat and walk a straight line for us. Sometimes I'm not sure what Robert means.
Not sure what he's saying.
Oh, sorry. Were you clicking on that one? I thought you were.
No. But yeah, like I said, Nick, I have the Now that I got the Blu-ray copy of this film, if you ever want the DVD that I've got, yeah, once I've tested negative and we hang out, that DVD, it's all yours, man. If you want it.
It all depends because I already got a number of. There was a what the hell? There was a crooked top who walked a crooked mile.
Oh,
He's referring to crooked man. Oh wait. Now I understand what Robert's saying. Nick, you were saying he sometimes is drunk. All
oh,
right. Well. All right. So I guess in that response, Tom. All right, you be safe, sir. There's a lot of crazies out. There's a lot of crazies out there tonight.
yep. And be careful because there might be a full moon tonight. You don't know what could happen.
Tom might not be back if he takes a walk.
Oh yeah.
See, if I'm correcting my typos, that's when then I am not drunk.
Oh yeah. So yeah, let's go over the comedy of American Werewolf in London because probably some of those comical moments spark when David is has finished a night of killing as a werewolf and he's finds himself waking up in the zoo completely nude inside of the wolf exhibit of that zoo of all places. Yeah, and he's just
Like, how
like,
do they not notice? How do they not notice even before they woke up?
yeah, I mean,
Like if that was to really happen, they would have noticed immediately.
yeah, that part I don't get. Then when he gets out, it has to, and then tricks like a little kid into giving him balloons. The way he does it is just like awkward and funny at the same time. It's
So,
like, it's like, hey, just be glad that you're living in a time before cell phones because otherwise, it'd be a whole new level of, oh Jesus, yeah, it would
yeah,
be a whole new
they would just take pictures
a whole new
immediately.
world of hell for you because they take
Yeah.
pictures, put on social media. Oh, and also call the cops that have you arrested for public indecent exposure.
Yeah. Tom,
Yeah.
stick to the path. Do not cross the moors. Moops.
Yep.
It's moops. Again,
Yep.
it's not.
Beware the moon lads.
No, again, it's that reference to Seinfeld again.
Yeah.
Everything involving the Moors. It's the
Yep.
okay. Long
Okay.
story
Anyway.
short, it was a sequence of the game where George asked who invaded Spain in the 8th century, and there's this guy that calls himself that's called the Bubble Boy,
Oh.
and he's saying it's the Moors, and he's looking at the cars like, oh no, sorry, it's the Moops. The answer is the Moops, and he's like, it's a misprint. It's like, sorry, the card says Moops, and they keep arguing like Moors, Moops, Moors, Moops.
Yep. And
Um,
just like this one card game focuses on movies that has a misprint, saying that Jurassic Park movie came out in 1990, but nope, that's wrong. The book came out
nope,
in 1990, but the film adaptation came out in 1993.
that's
So
right.
yeah, I know better than the people who made that game. I know that movie better
Yeah.
than them.
The doggy style naked man stole my balloons. Yes, I have cell phone footage.
Oh my god.
Uh,
Oh yeah. So like I said, 1981. Just be thankful that this was a time before phones, because you would have it would have been a whole new world of problems for you.
I mean,
Yeah.
there is,
So
it was at
and
a
then
time before, it was actually, when you think about it, at a time when cell phones were actually starting to come out. But at that time, though, they were expensive as hell. I mean, you had to basically be like one of the rich folks to have one. Of course, obviously, you couldn't take pictures with them. That was back when they
yeah.
were like nothing. Yeah, that was back when they were like big boxes,
Oh,
at
oh
that
yeah.
time.
Like if you've seen Stranger Things, yeah, you see like a few I think military guys at certain points they had cell phones that were like big bulky things, the big.
Yeah, they were like boxes.
Yep. That's it.
Or they
Yep.
almost look more like, is that one of your
Hello, Shadow. Yep.
supporters?
Believe so. Yep.
Um,
Thank you for joining us.
uh, I don't know whether to laugh at that or be sad. Before London had a closed circuit network surveillance. That's the other thing too that he should be thankful for, is that there was not a lot of security cameras in those days.
Oh yeah, yeah, that too.
If there had been cell phones back in the early 90s, there would be some very interesting pics of me. Well, again, there were cell phones, but they were like, you know what? Actually, I just thought of a better way to describe them. Those cell phones back in the days, actually, because of the shape of them, they almost look more like bricks almost. Just They were
Yeah.
like rectangular shaped. They were big. They looked like talking brick, like you were talking on a brick.
Yeah, that's one way. That's one way to think of it.
They were like,
Yeah,
but those
and
things cost like thousands of dollars back in the day.
oh yeah, yeah, you got to be super rich to get one of those. And what was I gonna say? Oh yeah, and right after like he finally gets those balloons and like he like ends up grabbing a woman's coat and has to wear that all the way back to Alex's apartment.
Yeah, I know.
And everyone's looking at him weird.
Well, he also steals that lady's jacket too.
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah, it's like how on earth did he manage to get there completely unnoticed? It just doesn't make a lot of sense.
Yeah.
Don't make Don laugh. He's gonna choke to death.
No, I'm good. Hey, I got this to clear my throat when I need it. So you guys are all good.
Man, everyone seems to really be joking around for tonight's show. But you know what? That's what's kind of the fun part about this is.
Yeah. So yeah, and right when there's like a few like moments where like it just seems like really like where let's see, what was one like when the part where David like tries to go to the cop, but the cop doesn't believe that he committed the murder, so he starts screaming out offensive things. I'm just like, oh my god, really? Like this is actually happening.
Don's coughing up a wolf hairball.
Oh Jesus.
Oh
man.
my god.
Yeah.
Yeah, I know. It's just I just love again like some sequences that don't make sense at all, and that's what sometimes makes it really funny.
Yeah, it's like what he's going for. It doesn't work. That's what makes it like like funny, like comical. Like that's what they were going for with this, like to make this. Like they're throwing some awkward humor, throwing some. Yeah, really, it just makes the movie all the more memorable. And and then there's
to be that flexible.
and then there's the scene where he is visited by Jack for a third time. This time, Jack is like all skeletal on the face, like really decayed, and like leads him into an adult movie theater. You know, it's like is having a chat with him along with his victims from the night before, while a pornographic film is playing in the back, like right there. I'm just like, oh my god.
I hate to say that was during the popularity of that. I'm not going to say too much about that. That's all I'm going to say.
Yeah, when I first saw that, I mean, obviously I was a kid at the time. I saw the censored version of it, but
I was going to say, thank goodness AMC blocked all that out.
Yeah, I saw like the censored version of this, but I essentially like knew this was something that was not a theater was showing something that was not for kids, and I'm thinking, did movie theaters really show that kind of stuff back in the 80s? I'm like thinking
70s and 80s, early 80s especially.
I'm just thinking, man, times were strange before my time.
Yeah. It was different. It was different back then.
Yeah.
But you know what? At the same time, though, like I said, it was not even just that. It was a lot of different movies genres that were so popular back in the day. So, that's just how it was, how movies were, that's just how they showed their popularity. So, it was what it was.
Oh yeah. And I was kind of disappointed like with David's second transformation. It just showed like briefly like him like panicking or like saying like the for the theater attendee, I'm guessing, like to yelling at him to run, but then it shows like nails coming out, and the next shot you see of David like he's like halfway through the transformation, and that's it. Like,
well, if you think about it too, I mean, understandably, I could see why they didn't show it as much as they did with the first transformation sequence, because as great as it was probably at the same time very difficult to really shoot that entire sequence a second time in a row.
Well, yeah. That's like the conclusion I kind of draw from that. I was thinking maybe they just didn't have the budget to create another one of those. That's what I was wondering.
I'm sure it was, in my opinion, I think it might have been due to time constraints as well as budgeting.
Oh yeah, it could be that as well. But yeah, right when when they discover there's a werewolf in there, they try to barricade everything up, and then literally all hell breaks loose when that wall comes down.
Well, if you think about it too, there's actually another. Actually, I just thought of this too. We already saw obviously how the transformation had occurred. What's the point of also showing it all over again when we already know then at that point what's going to happen? So that might be another reason why they didn't make it a full transformation sequence once again, unless if they were going to try to make it different. But as far as I know, I have not heard of anything if they were going to make it a different type of transformation, but still have, the same results in the end. So, but I think the idea was probably that, we already had the idea of how he was going to transform.
Yeah, and then when he finally breaks loose, like the one thing, it's crazy how the first thing he did was just bite the head off of that police that Scotland Yard member like officer who questioned David when he was in the hospital and didn't believe him that he was attacked by an animal. But
Right.
it's like killing off the skeptic, But
Yeah, I know.
and then finally going on that rampage where you see, oh man, the double decker bus, and running over a guy getting run over, and then John Landis being thrown through a window, and oh man, yeah, they that scene just showed total chaos. Then what I don't get though is why did the David the werewolf just go? Why did he go into a dead end alleyway? Like, couldn't he even wondering when could he have known that was just a dead end? Like no other way out. I don't know.
I don't know either.
But
But quite
yeah,
obviously, but obviously, as you know, though, when he transforms and to continue on the tradition, in paying homage, obviously, to the Legend of Werewolves, it's not him when he transforms into it. It's a separate mind, like a separate individual that is taken over. So, as far as what you were talking about, that werewolf side, that was probably his werewolf side thinking, but
yeah,
didn't really think too much of the alleyway.
yeah. And then all the guys with the guns come, and faced with the worst possible situation, cornering a vicious animal, because you know what an animal does when it's cornered? Fighting back.
It will fight back immediately. And yeah, see, look, Robert just wrote this. The animal mind takes over, so he would have been drawn to the smells. That is
Hmm.
true. So it's just like exactly how I was describing it.
Yeah, it could be, but and then of course there was the ending where Alex could just goes to confront Werewolf David, and tries to get him to calm down, saying, "I want to help you, love you, David." Then right when she says those words, he there was a moment where he just showed where he seemed phased, like
Yeah, almost like as
but
if he
then
was it was like he was regaining his mentality
yeah.
in a way.
Yeah, it's like he just seemed to phase him for just a second, but then goes to attack. Then they shoot him dead, and the movie ends with his corpse, his bullet riddled corpse, just laying in the alleyway, and then it fades into music. And I'm just like, wow,
Yeah,
man,
you wonder how.
it's like the kind of ending that just leaves you stunned.
Yeah, like whoa, exactly. You
Yeah,
wonder how they. This is what we were actually already talking about this time. Do you wonder how they'd find clothes when they turn back? Seeing a naked man may be more noticeable running through London.
yeah. We were just covering that a few minutes ago, like in or
Is
what's
this
up with
one
that ending?
another subscriber of yours?
Jill, yeah, I believe so.
Yeah, we're dead. Yep. And cuts to some techno music. Yeah.
Yeah, the technical version of Blue Moon. Yeah, like they played so many different versions of Blue Moon in that film. Didn't you notice that?
Yeah, but I think you get the idea why,
Yeah,
obviously.
obvious reason.
Nothing strange on the tube over there. And yes, hello, Jill. Good to see. No, Jeremy, that's Jill S. I don't think
No.
that's Jill Jade.
Yeah.
This is one of Don's subscribers.
Yes. And so, yeah, the movie has a very, like I said, very stunning ending. Like where they just show his bullet filled corpse. Yeah, like that's the end of it. But then But then the second film, like where American Werewolf in Paris, where we're introduced to Surfing, who's supposed to be like the daughter of David and Alex. And I don't know. They briefly have a scene where Alex is like, she's supposed to
Oh,
be like a dead, like recently when it went at the
oh,
start of the
it's
film.
same Jill. Okay, sorry. Okay, it is me. Same Jill.
Oh, it
Okay,
is.
so it
Oh,
is Jill J. I'm sorry.
yeah.
Sorry, Jill.
Cause of
Uh,
death, lead poisoning. What?
lead poisoning.
Yep. And what I think is pretty dumb in American Werewolf in Paris, what I was about to mention, I forgot to say this before. There was a concept where Surfing's stepfather was like working on like a cure for the wolf for her werewolf curse. For they treated it like it was a disease, where it was supposed to like a cure, but it kind of had the reverse effect. It caused instant transformation, and so then the gang of werewolves that she is like enemies with gets a hold of that and is able to transform themselves at will.
Yeah, that just didn't really seem to do a lot of
Yeah,
explanation for it.
yeah.
Tisk. You really need to learn your Jills.
Yes, we do. We most certainly do.
No, he's telling that on me.
Yeah.
You're good.
Yeah. I mean, I do have a few. I kind of got mixed up with that as well. I do have a couple of subscribers named Jill.
Yeah.
So, yeah. Like, did you see American Werewolf in Paris, Nick? I'm guessing you did. Like, years ago, right?
Unfortunately, yes, and I kind of regret it. The first time I saw it actually was back when I was in high school, and that was I felt like I was wasting my time on it, to be honest with you.
Yeah. Oh, wait.
Oh, Jill just watched American Werewolf in London today.
Yeah, we were just talking about the first that transformation scene earlier on. Like, oh man, that was the most hands down the most iconic moment of the entire film. Like where it showed Rick Baker's skill with at its best when it comes to makeup effects. And oh wow, he really brought that scene to life. He really did.
Yeah, I mean that's just an unforgettable moment for without a shadow of a doubt.
Oh yeah, no doubt. And Nick, I should mention like when I did research on this film years ago, when I was like in high school, I did come across. I can't believe they did this. There was this one film that I came across at a Blockbuster once when I was in high school. Back when those existed, where it was a film called A Mexican Werewolf in Texas.
What?
Yeah,
Oh wait, no. Let me take that back. I
but,
did hear about that. Yeah,
but it's not what you think. Like I thought it was just
I'm
going to be
sure it's
another
not.
like a terrible straight to video like ripoff or sequel or something or other. But it turns out it's not even a werewolf in that film. It's a chupacabra.
I was just about to say, isn't it supposed to be a chupacabra in that movie?
Yeah.
Mex-
Yeah, it's not
Mexican
it's
werewolf in
like
Texas.
okay, whoever came up with this, you do realize that werewolves and chupacabras are two completely different things, right?
Yeah, I mean, yes, there's some descriptions about the chupacabra having kind of like a wolf or a dog-like appearance to it, but aside from that, they are two separate entities completely. Yeah,
Yep.
see,
So,
even Jeremy says, "Oh boy, couldn't they have come up with a better title?"
yeah, that's probably the reason why they can't have that title is because they think, oh, this sounds like American Wolf in London. I think I'll check this out. But yeah, then didn't fool me because I picked up that box. I looked at it and I picked up the DVD case, looked at it. I'm just like, yeah, this is definitely gonna be a waste of time. Then I put it back. I'm just thinking, yeah, no, what? I'm putting this back. I'm not watching this crap. Yeah. So yeah, never saw that movie. Never going to.
Chupacabra and werewolf. Yeah,
Yeah,
even just the title of it just sounds nuts.
yeah. I mean, I did look up pictures of like what this thing was, and it hardly even looks like a chupacabra or a werewolf. I don't even. It's like I don't know what the hell that thing was.
Looked more like a mutant rat, in my opinion. back, back, back to the rats again.
Oh, Jesus.
Sometimes the title alone makes me not want to watch a movie.
Yeah.
Sometimes the title alone makes me not want to watch a movie.
Yeah, that's how it is with me sometimes. Like when I told you before about Llamageddon.
Oh God.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like I still remember I told you I came across that on Amazon Prime and Sam was just like, yeah, this looks like trash. I'm not seeing it.
Yeah, that's just what is with all these stupid like low budget movies that they try to pay homage to like all these classic movies for? I just don't get it.
Yeah, nor do I. But yeah, like oh, yeah, I'm just thinking when I think about all this, it just makes me feel iffy about them remaking an American Werewolf in London, even if the Landis family are involved. I mean,
I could already, you know what, I could basically bet almost anything in my life that once the remake comes out, it's definitely going to be the transformation sequence. It's definitely going to be CGI. There's no doubt about it. It's going to be CGI. It's probably going to be worse than what we saw in the Paris one. Um, I just already, I mean, I hope they prove me wrong. But if they don't, I think it's going to be a real disappointment.
yeah, but if they play everything right, there is a slight chance they could be at least decent. Not terrible. I mean, there have been some examples of remakes or reboots that actually did follow
Yeah,
the same kind of formula and actually did end up making something good.
right.
And there are a few instances where they actually did create a different, whole better version of it.
That is true. That is true. Jill says she's famous for watching all the B movie versions too, so she might just peep in just to see why the heck not. Oh God, Jill, if you watch like something like Mexican Werewolf in Texas, I think you're probably gonna regret it.
Yeah, man. I would like to see them at least make one good Chupacabra movie.
Yeah,
Just
really.
one.
There's a lot of them out there, and they're all bad.
Yeah, tons of bad ones. Like the last one time I saw one was I think it was called Indigenous, where a bunch of college kids go out into the woods of somewhere in South America. I forgot which country it was, but then they come across they come across Chupacabra, and I'm just like, yeah, it was pretty bad, and I'm just like, yep, I give up on Chupacabra movies. That's it.
Jeremy's suggesting this for Jill. If you want to watch a really, truly terrible movie, I mean terrible, one hell of a Christmas, worst movie I've ever seen. You know that movie?
No, no, probably
Oh,
probably the reason why I don't know that film. Okay, yeah, like what's probably well the worst
you
film
know
I
now.
yep. No, it's the worst film I've ever seen.
What's that?
One of the worst films ever, in my book, was House of the Dead, by made by the god awful, uh, this director who I consider him out of his league and out of his damn mind, Uwe Boll. Yeah, House of the Dead. That's that film. One film tells you everything you need to know about Uwe Boll, like as far as how he makes films and how he just deludes himself into thinking he's the best, never learning from his mistakes. Nothing.
Jeez.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's just people who just refuse to give up sometimes, and it's kind of sad. So
Yeah.
he's talking about it's an independent film, and it looks every bit like an indie film. Yeah, I saw that one done with the Chupacabra. It's all right. It's all right.
Oh,
She's talking about Mexican Werewolf in Texas.
oh no, she's probably talking about Indigenous.
Oh, Indigenous. Okay,
Yeah.
maybe that one.
Yeah. I
I'm
mean,
surprised they haven't come up with Darmageddon. It would be
Darmageddon?
Darmageddon. You know that one?
No.
I
I don't
don't
know
know
how
what.
that would do.
Yeah, I mean, I've never seen it. I haven't even heard of it. So honestly, I don't know.
Yeah. Yeah, no idea. But what?
Worst movie I tried to watch was Joe versus the Volcano. Walked out of the theater. That does sound like a pretty bad movie.
Oh yeah.
It did. Oh yeah. So Joe's talking about Indigenous. Okay.
Oh yeah. There was another bad Chupacabra film I saw called Chupacabra Dark Seas, which had John Rhys Davies. That's like the main reason why I wanted to see that film, because I remember him from the Indiana Jones films. I remember him as Gimli in Lord of the Rings. So, and man, did that one disappoint. It did.
Sometimes, I
Oh,
mean,
it al-
from some of the best directors, there are movies that are just not fun to watch.
and it had Gus from Breaking Bad.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
Who
And
would have guessed?
so, but yeah, back to this. Yeah, American Werewolf in London, definitely worth seeing if you love werewolf films. To me, I consider it the best werewolf film of all time. You know, it nailed it on the story, characters, practical effects, the terrifying moments. You know, especially with those nightmare sequences.
Druids was the dumbest movie I ever saw. Only got 20 minutes and turned it off. Jeez, oh my God. Everyone's now sharing like what's their worst movie they've
Yeah.
ever seen. Oh, still love The Descent. That's a good movie. I don't know what those creatures are, but it's kind of chupacabra-ish there. Parts 1 and 2 are both cool. That's a great movie. You
Yes,
have
it
you
is,
seen
Nick.
the second one?
I have.
I haven't seen the second one yet. Is it just as good as the first, or what's
Not
your
as good as
opinion?
the first, but it's still watchable. It's still worth seeing. But
Weren't
yeah, like
necessarily chupacabra creatures, but they were more human. Well, they were like human-like creatures.
yeah, they were. They were basically like Neanderthals that evolved while being underground.
Actually, I still remember the director said they were basically cavemen that never left the caves.
Oh yeah, pretty much.
Uh,
Let's see.
when it comes to hard movies to watch, for me, it's the Chronicles of Riddick. It took me 3 tries to watch it all the way through.
Mhm. Yeah, like so. Yeah, like I was saying, American Werewolf in London. This for me, this is number one. I would like to know what everybody's number one werewolf movie is. If it's not this one, because yeah, like there are several other good ones out there that I do enjoy as well, such as like I said, The Howling and also Dog Soldiers. That's another
Yep,
great
I mean,
one. Yeah, yeah, I've showed
there
you
are.
that one, Nick.
I mean, if you, yeah, I mean, yeah, we've watched that one. I mean, since the release of An American Werewolf in London alongside The Howling, and also almost 40 years prior, The Wolfman from the early 1940s. Over the last almost 80 years now, there have been plenty of werewolf movies. Some of them are really good, some of them are really bad. So, yeah, I have to, makes me wonder too. What everyone else's number one werewolf movie is? Jeremy put down number one werewolf movie. I would probably have to say the original Wolfman.
Oh yeah, I think I've got
Good
that too.
choice.
Yeah, I got that too. It's under my Universal Monsters collection, and I have it on Blu-ray. Yeah, it's definitely aged well. It's a great film to see.
Can you imagine? I just thought of this. Because again, we've been talking several times about the transformation sequences. We're waiting for others to answer the question. Can you imagine what special effects uh, artist Jack Pierce would think if he was still alive and he was able to see, that transformation sequence in American Werewolf in London? I mean, something tells me I think he would have gotten a kick out of that. He probably would have thought, why didn't I think of something like that before?
Oh yeah, I hear you. Yeah, there's plenty of people out there who've in history have worked with makeup effects and like just doing their best to make movies believable, and then they see like it's like what would be able to happen if they were still alive today to see what we've done
Well,
in modern times.
like I said, I think in this case with Jack Pierce, I think he would have gotten a kick out of seeing something like that.
Yep. Oh,
Rob St. Wolf with Jack Nicholson.
Yeah, that's another good one. Yeah, have you seen that one, Nick?
I don't think I have actually.
Oh yeah, it's actually we're seeing it's a pretty good one. I want to
Minus
spoil it for you, but yeah, Michelle. Yep, that's
Jill.
right. Jack Nicholson and Michelle Pfeiffer are in it.
Yep, Jill St. Wolf is also is also her favorite.
Yep, and like
It's from 1994.
yep, yeah, it's not that old.
Well, I mean, that's only 20. That's only almost 30 years ago.
Oh yeah, but
Uh,
yeah, another great
Usually I
one.
would go with a Stephen King version of whatever topic, but Silver Bullet is so for me.
Yeah, that's another one I was going to mention. Yeah, Silver Bullet is another fairly good one. That one just has 80s written all over it because of Corey Haim as a kid, child actor, and Gary Busey.
Yeah, Gary Busey. Another good werewolf movie I could think of also too, which it's of course there wasn't just one; it spawned two sequels because it made a lot of money, and it's a full trilogy. Is one that I like is also Ginger Snaps.
Oh yeah, that's a
Do
great
not
one.
forget those movies when you're talking about werewolf films.
Oh yeah, well, I do admire how it cleverly uses lycanthropy as a metaphor for for sexual maturity and adolescence.
It's basically, if you think about it, even though it has a werewolf, it's a werewolf film. Yeah, I mean, it basically deals with teenage puberty in a way. It's real. Put it this way, because we don't just see this. It's not just something you'd see like in a film like Ginger Snaps. You see this in a lot of horror films. Is that as we grow up and we're growing, we have no control over our own bodies. You grow, your body starts to change. You start going through different changes and stuff, and it can be scary because you have no control over it, aging wise, all that kind of stuff. And a movie like Ginger Snaps dealing with teenage puberty, that's probably a classic example of how scary it is to grow, when you're basically between the lines of being a kid and an adult. So that's kind of what the kind of topic for, like basically the subject of Ginger Snaps is. So it's more than just about the werewolf.
Oh yeah. Oh, here, Jill
Underworld,
said
that's another one.
Underworld. Yeah, that's another great one. I do like Underworld. Yeah, yeah. Like
Jeremy's asking. Go ahead.
even though it's like mostly like focusing on a war between vampires and werewolves, not entirely about werewolves, but I still consider one. Oh, here, Jeremy was saying right
I was
here.
just about to
Can we
ask this
consider?
one.
Yeah,
Can
go
we
ahead.
consider Harry Potter and the Prisoner of Azkaban a werewolf movie? There
I
are
think
there are
so.
werewolves in it.
Yep, there are werewolves in it. Fairly good looking werewolves, I might add. They did a pretty good job with the effects in that. So,
I
but then
like
again,
how
they
they.
always,
Go ahead. I'm
I
sorry.
was I was about to say, but then again, they always do a great job with effects with all the Harry Potter movies.
I actually like how they made two different types of werewolves. For that movie, like one that you would usually think of in the case of walking normally like a normal like wolf would, walking on all fours. And then the really scary one is the one that walks upright, like that's
Oh
like
yeah,
7 foot, like 7 feet tall. I mean, that's in my opinion is because that kind of almost represents a lot of the supposed real werewolf sightings that have occurred, including some of our cryptids like the Beast of Bray Road, the Michigan Dog Man. I mean, to me, I would probably say more likely in the case of the the one that stands upright bipedally in Harry Potter. Uh,
yep,
that's probably what I would most likely would rather call the Dog Man than an actual werewolf because
yeah.
it did have more because obviously unlike some of these other movies, it definitely did have a dog like face and ears to it. So it's more to me. I thought it was more like a dog man than an actual werewolf, but dog man werewolf is basically the same thing.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, Billy. We were
Yeah, we were
talking.
just talking
We
about
were
it.
mentioning American Werewolf in Paris, saying how it does not. It does not do justice to the first film. It's about as distant from the first film as it could possibly be. Just about every aspect in terms of story, characters, and also the effects. Because I was telling everybody, if you love the practical effects, like that made the first film great, then you will be missing that dearly. Because in the second film, American Werewolf in Paris, the werewolves are about 90% of it is constructed from terrible CGI effects.
Yeah,
So
it's completely the opposite of the original one.
yeah, pretty much.
Although I will say this, I almost forgot to mention this. So like how you mentioned about how it also involves a gang of guys that lure people to these parties of where and they attack them as werewolves.
Yeah.
The first sequence of the original film, like where um the guy is getting attacked and is killed. The
Hmm.
first guy, you know what I'm talking about, right?
Right. One of Andy's friends.
Well, yeah, one of Andy's friends. You don't really know exactly who the guy was, the previous guy was who was a werewolf before he was shot and killed by the locals.
Yeah.
But they're actually suggesting that it is possible that he may have actually been one of those gang members who probably was trying to start another coven out, for London, if you kind of think about it, because you don't really get there's little to no information about who that guy was. But if you kind of compare it with the sequel, you kind of start thinking, well, maybe it's one of those guys. Maybe he was trying to start like another coven or another cult or start another werewolf society.
Another chapter of it.
Another chapter of it. One for France, another for England.
So it's going to be one big werewolf fraternity, is what they're trying to do in the second film.
It's like they were trying to basically. It was like, if you kind of think about it, it's like they were trying to create a whole society of werewolves or a whole world of werewolves, if you think about it.
Yeah, man. And
Dark Shadows. Johnny Depp has a cool werewolf. I like how she came out to the family finally after her transformation.
Oh yeah,
a new pack. Yeah, Robert makes a good point.
I will say this though, one of my favorite werewolves in terms of design was definitely in Dog Soldiers. Another film I want to cover in a future episode. In a future podcast episode, because I wanted to ever show everybody this. This I consider probably the best looking werewolf in terms of making it a cross between man and wolf. This right here from Dog Soldiers.
Yeah, I know that. And again, I like how they call it Dog Soldiers because, again, even the appearance of it, it has a wolf-like appearance, but at the same time, it has the dog-like look to it. So once again, it kind of almost represents the dog man in a way.
Oh yeah,
it's really interesting stuff, especially for a film that was released in the early 2000s, which as I would probably say was really the last true genre where they actually were relying on special effects instead of. I mean, CGI was coming along the way, but most films at that time were still using practical special effects than CGI, because at that time CGI, of course, was much more expensive back in the day.
Yeah, and that Dog Soldiers was released in 2002 on TV. I was 10 years old when I saw it. Yep,
20 years ago now.
Yep. Chloe Grace Moretz was the. Oh, yep, that's true. Yeah, Chloe Grace Moretz, great actress. And let's see. What else?
I'm actually looking something else up. That possibly I'm going to try to show before we end for tonight. So it's not that I'm checking messages. I'm looking for something else to add to the show before we end it.
Oh yeah.
So it's actually a video. So
it is.
Yeah, actually, on second thought, no, it would. I'd be kind of a little bit worried about copyright issues. That's the problem.
Yeah, it always is a problem for us.
I know.
Yeah, but I think this is a good stopping point, Nick. I think we're gonna end it here.
Yeah, I said before. I mean, I originally did send the link out to see if anybody else wanted to come on the network chat, see if anybody else wanted to come chat with us. But it looks like there's just a lot going on. I think, not to mention, I saw in the chat that just like us, it's been a long time since a couple other people have seen it. But it's no major loss. It's always good sometimes to just have you and me chat. But I'm sure we'll have we'll have more chats with the other show hosts real soon.
Oh yeah, with all the different ideas that we got for future episodes, we're bound to have more people on it.
So do you think what we're going to be talking about for next week?
Next week, just still trying to figure it out. But hey, you and me, we'll discuss it. We'll get this sorted out. I was thinking about doing the Evil Dead soon, because I believe one of the topics that we haven't discussed as far as subgenres is demons. And
yes.
And I think Evil Dead was a good start on that. I definitely want to cover the Conjuring franchise at one point. Let's see. And like I said, the birds I'm saving for around Thanksgiving time, because turkey, birds.
Yeah. I just realized one other movie I should have brought up. By the way, I mean this obviously has nothing to do with it, but I mean with American Werewolf in London. But I thought it should be important to bring this up.
What's up?
It is 50 years ago today. One of them, put it this way, one of the most. Wait, was it today or was it tomorrow?
What?
Well, whatever the case is, 50 years ago today or tomorrow was when another friend of John Landis, director Wes Craven, released one of the most violent movies ever made, The Last House on the Left. It's 50
Yeah.
years ago already.
Yeah.
Unbelievable.
That's a hard film to talk about on this.
Oh my god, that's such a that's
But I will say
it,
this though. I will say this. I do enjoy the remake better because it has a more satisfying ending.
yeah, that's I haven't seen the remake, but that's what I've heard. Although ironically enough, I first saw the original Last House on the Left back when I was 15 years old. And it was
Yeah.
right around the time, no, 15 or 16. So right around the time when
here.
the remake came out.
Yep.
And at that time, that was when YouTube was a little bit more flexible. They actually had the movie up on YouTube. But back then, that was long before, YouTube allowed you to have like hour movies. It was
Yeah.
like part 1, part 2, part 3. You could only watch 10 minutes at a time.
I did that
And
same thing.
that was it was quite a horrific film. I'm just glad at least that they cut out, even back then, whoever uploaded those clips, they did manage to cut a lot of the really bad stuff out, if you know what I mean by that,
Oh, yeah.
but
Yes,
still
I
left
do.
a lot of the, you can kind of say the murder and torture sequences, which just made, regardless, it just made the movie look more vicious.
Yeah, it did.
That was.
And let's see what else. Oh, I went. I
Jill
went.
got
Oh, here.
Insidious films, good demon, paranormal stuff to talk about.
I was thinking of.
Warrens.
I was thinking of the Conjuring franchise. I was also thinking Paranormal Activity movies. Yeah, those two. I would love to cover those in the future. And yeah, hey, I have a long list of other things we can cover here.
Yeah,
Godzilla franchise. Godzilla franchise. We definitely got to do.
Oh, of course we have to talk about Godzilla. You know that.
Yes.
I
was thinking at a certain point we could talk like more about the Friday the 13th franchise because I feel like there were some parts of that we didn't have time for because we had quit after an hour and a half.
Yeah, because that was when Greg was doing his show. So, and I just gotta bring. I'm just gonna say this one thing. It's just funny that you brought it up because as crazy as it sounds, if you think of a movie like Last House, that actually did serve an inspiration at not only to Friday the 13th, but also to a lot of the slasher films that were made in the early 80s. And not to mention, it was produced by Sean S. Cunningham, who later did Friday the 13th. So that's but that's still a really hard movie to watch, though. It's just, put it this way, I'm just gonna say it about Last House. It's amazing to me how it was basically done by a group of, as Sean Cunningham once said, it was basically a group of hippies and flower children that got together and basically made this violent film, which, if you think about it too, it even has a message to Vietnam because it represented a lot of the violence that people were watching on television in this case with Vietnam. You saw these you'd see these violent images and you'd hear, like, you turn on the radio and there's like Harry Nilsson music. You see these unbelievably violent graphic images in that movie. And there's like this kind of scene where one of those scenes are happening. You hear this music like with the wheels turning. It's just like, it's nuts. And even half a century later, the British the British Film Board will not allow the film to be released uncut.
I think that's true.
Last House on the Left. Yeah. No, it's Last House on the Left.
Last House on the Left. Yeah.
I will say, like, years ago, 50 years ago it was released now.
Yeah, the remake I consider better because I feel like it had a much more satisfying ending in terms of like how the family like how they fight back and how I don't want to give away too much, Nick, but Yeah, it will you will like this ending better than the original one. But
Oh, I'm
let's
sure.
see. And
Yeah.
also it had a better cast, I think. It had Jesse from Breaking Bad, and it also had Tony Goldwyn, who I've seen in several films. I believe he was the voice of Tarzan in Disney's Tarzan.
Wow.
Yeah,
See,
he
it's
plays.
just funny to think about. It seemed like they had a lot more fun in the remake than the original because if you talk to people who were in the original, they actually, especially the leading actress,
Yeah,
they actually really regret being part of that film. In fact, Wes Craven, before he passed away, once said he never really acknowledged um, the violence of that movie until one of the most graphic scenes. And he actually said he remembered they shot one of those scenes one morning. And when it was all over, they all broke out for lunch. Everybody, of course, was covered with artificial blood. And he remembered that everybody just kind of walked off by themselves and nobody ate. I think they were just
yeah.
so upset and disturbed.
I
And
wouldn't
I
eat.
even and I even heard that some of the actors were like the bad guys in that movie. Seemed like they were not actually really nice people in reality. Like there was one of those guys actually took the actress when they were trying to, do one of the scenes. He's like, let me have her for a second. He took her over a cliff and said, if you don't get this right, I'm going to throw you off this cliff. It was like, holy cow, these people were. It's like you're watching an actual snuff movie. It's nuts.
Jesus.
I mean, it just makes you think what would make people. I mean, I get it has a message of like Vietnam and has the inspiration of the slasher film, but
Yeah.
what kind of people would make such a horrific movie like that? Kind of like the spit. Oh God. Oh no. Spit on your
Yeah.
great film
Another
series. That
another
is
revenge film.
that's not even
Oh,
really I would even call a real horror film. It's
it's a
just
brutal film, is what it is.
it's a
Yeah.
brutal film. My mom still remembers, even 50 years later. She knew people who saw those movies. They were disgust. I mean, as far as I know, she said she doesn't think she ran into anyone who said they enjoyed those movies.
Yeah, I never even heard about this film, I Spit on Your Grave, until I saw an episode of The Simpsons where Apu brought Lisa up onto like the top of the Quickie Mart where it like shows like all this garden and everything. And he said, "This is where I want to get away from the world, or if I want to watch drive-in movies for free." And it showed on their billboard writing
Oh
now
God.
playing "I Spit on Your Grave," and I'm like, "Oh, what is that?" Then I learned about that film, and I'm just like, and they mentioned that in The Simpsons.
That's nuts that they brought that up. I'm actually surprised they made a sequel to that movie, right? Because
Yeah,
like how they made the
sequel
remakes.
and a remake and two
They made
sequels.
these remakes and they literally made a sequel to the original 1978 film. I'm even more surprised that the actress who was in that movie was still alive, that she replayed her character. And yeah, and see what Jeremy just said. He's watched that original movie. That was really, yeah. You
Yeah.
know what? There was actually one camera I'm just gonna say this. The camera operator who worked in that movie, that it was later filmed by somebody else. That first camera operator quit. He couldn't deal with what he was seeing in that movie. It looked
Yeah.
so horrific. And never seen that. Yeah, you probably
Yeah.
shouldn't see it.
It's
It's
not for
it's
sensitive viewers.
oh my god, it's horrible. But as I'm just gonna say for Last House on the Left in this case, the best other way I could describe it is director Eli Roth once described it in an interview. 50 years later, it
Yeah.
was the kind of film that your friends' older brothers or sisters may have seen with their friends at a drive-in. You weren't old enough to see it yourself if you were a kid back then, but you just knew very quickly how notorious this film was. And you really do have, when I saw it, you really do have that message running in your head because I think a lot of us have seen the trailer.
Yeah.
That message was running in my head. I just kept trying to tell myself, it's only a movie. It's only a movie. It's only a movie.
Except things in that movie happen in real life.
Yeah, I know. It's just
So
it,
there is realism to it.
well,
So
again, it
yeah.
revolves around it has that message of it does have a message of Vietnam in it, whether
Yeah.
people know it or not, because again, it was representing what people used to see on live television back in the day.
Mm-hmm.
So it would have again these horrific images, and they have all this peaceful music playing in the background. It's just like I don't know. It just seemed awfully surreal. But you know what? As much as I hate to say it, that was just that era. In fact, I've seen images like there. You know what? I'm just going to bring this up really quickly. I've been watching every 4th of July. We watch these, I know it's going to sound unrelated at first, but we watch these 4th of July related Charlie Brown specials. It's called This Is America, Charlie Brown. It represents like different parts of history.
Right.
And they actually did a segment talking about Vietnam. And this was probably the only time like any of the Peanut specials have ever done this. But they actually showed in between like actual footage of Vietnam, and there's music playing. They're playing the song Where the Flowers Have Gone.
Man.
Again, that's like a representation of the violence people used to see on television back in the 70s. So again, Last House on the Left is quite that example of what it represents. So as horrific and gruesome it is, there's kind of some facts behind it. But it's definitely not a movie I would watch again, though. That's David has
that and Cannibal Holocaust. That one is worse. No, never again.
No.
Yeah, never ever again.
David Hess, the lead bad guy in Last House on the Left, he was terrifying.
Yeah,
that movie.
So Nick,
I think he probably actually scared me more than any monster that I've seen in any movie. It's just I'm just going to tell people right now that unless you're willing to take the risk, do not see this film. It may be the 50th anniversary of it, but 50 years later, it's a horrific film. It's still hard to watch. It's just hard to believe that was a half a century ago.
Yeah,
70s for horror slasher is extreme. Yep,
yes,
exactly.
All right, so Nick, let's. I think we're gonna stop here.
Yeah, let's end this before people want to start talking about something else. I just really want to bring that up quickly, just before I forgot. So thanks for letting me bring it up.
Yep, hang on. I'm a big fan of you, Elmy. Yeah, thank you so much, Shadow. And definitely tune in for next time we do this podcast next week, next Tuesday at 8:30. We're gonna figure out which topic we're gonna cover next. So be sure to tune in. Glad to have you. Thank you so much for joining us tonight. Yeah, thank you everybody for joining this podcast. Looking forward to seeing you guys next time. And hopefully by then I'll be done with this whole COVID. It's just slowly getting better, but I'm not out of the woods yet. So
hopefully you'll feel better, Don. And also, definitely hang in there. You rest, get lots of rest. And then as far as for me, of course, we got Supernatural Talk this upcoming Thursday. I'm not sure if we're having someone or if it's just going to be open discussion. And then for the 13th, and then for Friday, sorry, I dropped my phone. I'm just getting the just seeing who. For Friday, we got who do we have on? Jeremy, if you're on, just give me the reminder because I'm looking through the chat right now. See who we have. So like I said, Supernatural Talk for Thursday night. I'm not sure who we have on, unless it's open discussion. And then, damn it, my phone is not cooperating. I need to get a new phone.
I've been telling you for years.
Oh yes, thanks, Jeremy. There it goes. Yeah, Diana. We're gonna have Diana May on. Okay, so Supernatural Talk will be open discussion. So not sure what we're going to be talking about, but I'll be back for Thursday and Friday, and in just another month or so, Nick Files will be back just in time for October for season 2. I already got a great place that I'm going to be sharing, so it'll definitely be a really cool place to talk about for the start of the October Halloween season. So, Jill, she said, sorry. Be back on Facebook Thursday for your show. Awesome. All right. Well, Jill, I'll definitely see you there. So, but that's what we got coming. That's what we got coming up for this week.
Awesome. All right. So thank you everybody for joining us. And I'll be seeing you back on here next Tuesday. Have a good night, everybody.
Good night, everyone.